Michael Dermer here from The Lonely Entrepreneur, and I'm here with JoyNicole Martinez, who does many, many different things. She's a doctor working on COVID. She's a population health expert. She's worked on public policy for many, many years, and I'll let her explain. But I really wanted to not only have you get to know her a little bit, but to talk about something that's near and dear to all entrepreneurs and how it specifically relates to Black entrepreneurs. And that is, knowing what you do well and what you don't do well, and having that be a real strength to be able to ask for help. So first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit and obviously, you and I have talked before, we talk about the Black community like it's one community, so we'll generalize a little bit inappropriately, but tell me a little bit about what you've seen from Black men and women who are entrepreneurs when it comes to, acknowledging and asking for help when they need it.
So let's just start right here. Of course, like you said, we're not a monolith, but let's just start right here. Perceptions of weakness. Okay. Yeah. So there are certain things, especially my generation and that before me, didn't do. Go to see therapists, right? Don't do that. Ask for help. And when I say ask for help, I will struggle, I will hustle, I will pull it together, I will work 4 jobs, right? But the last thing I want to do is acknowledge I'm overwhelmed and I need help.
Yep.
So carry this perception of weakness from our home life to our professional life, our entrepreneurial life. So what happens is we get into business because the idea is great and we know we see a problem, we want to address that problem, right? Because that's culturally also who we are, is we're fixers, right? So I see a problem, I want to fix it, I want to address it. I start this business and the idea is good. Maybe I don't know quite how to shape it so that legally the structure is sound, or so that financially the structure is sound.
Yep.
And frankly, I've not been in the habit of asking for help, right? So there are a few things I'm afraid to do. I don't know how to make sure my business has a credit line. So you want me to go to a bank and I don't even understand how to make sure that my business is not just me, right? Me, my own income, my own responsibility, so that I can ask a bank. And the documentation is not written in my colloquial language. Right. The application is not necessarily written for me to understand. It's asking me for something that takes a master's level education to grasp.
Yep.
I don't necessarily, there's just you're asking me if I have documents, and that means I have to have hardware and software that could have produced the documents to give to the CPA that I can't afford to give. There's just this whole backwards list of things that start with me changing my perception of whether or not I'm weak.
And I get the impression, right, that because of some of the systemic issues that is exacerbated in the Black community, because certainly, a lot of entrepreneurs, whether or not they're Black, I think this is more true of men than women, don't want to admit they don't know something. Whereas once you do this long enough, you realize it's a key strength and you just fix the problems you need to fix. Do you have a sense that is exacerbated in the Black community?
So trust happens when you have a relationship of give and take. When your relationship is more take, I tend to not trust. And so the Black community says, I can't trust the bank. I can't, right? And so the bank that harmed their family is all banks, right? It's all of it. The hospital that hurt their parent or their grandparent, it's all healthcare. So, when we're talking about, again, that perception of weakness, it's not just, I don't know I'm weak. I don't know people that I should go get the information, trust it.
I wonder, it's
right, because that's where this history of harm has happened. There's this right. There's hundreds of years of history of harm. And why would I go to these people who seek to harm me and not just ask for help, but acknowledge that there's a weakness in me.
It's so interesting because one of the pieces of advice, one of the pieces of advice that we give at Lonely Entrepreneur about presenting to investors is don't go up there and say you know everything. Go up there and say, we're good at this, we're not good at this, and here is our plan to do it. And an investor should walk away going, this person is candid, they have their act together, and they have a plan. But imagine asking a Black entrepreneur to go to a venture capital firm, knowing that X percent, a tiny, tiny percentage of the venture capital money goes to Black entrepreneurs, right? And them going up there and saying, hi, this is what I'm not good at, right? Would the perception be the same? Probably not. The perception would not be, oh, this is a leader that has their act together and has a plan for what they're not good at. The perception might be, hey, well, if they're not good at this, why am I listening to them about their
Why would I listen to them?
Yeah.
Why would I invest in them? Yeah. And that's where, it's perception of weakness again, because it's rooted in a history of mistrust, just lots of maltreatment. It's a perceived weakness, but it's a perceived weakness has a real root.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where we say, so we'll make our own. Right. So that's what Black culture typically does, especially in America. We'll make our own because we can't go to that one. We'll establish our own. But what happens with that is, again, that's another system. And now we have two silos and we still don't have access to those resources. If we sit in this silo, I want those resources. So what we have to do is start dismantling at the top, right? How this silo or this structure is built. And it requires some dismantling. It's uncomfortable. It does some harm, right? It means I need to yank some bricks out and maybe it's a little weakened for a minute or two, but I'm putting stuff back. You know what I mean? I'm putting better back. And that's where I think we have to do better at saying, this isn't a weakness and I need you to see past my skin and I need you to accept that my business, my idea, my concept, my skill, my knowledge, because I am Black, and this is true of many Black entrepreneurs, I've made a point of being twice the expert as anyone else in the room because I recognize, because I'm Black, if I'm not twice the expert, that's the weakness.
So that's what we talk about, turning a weakness into a strength, right? And don't get me wrong, many normal entrepreneurs have weaknesses. The Black community has all of these other overhanging systemic things that they have to deal with that are weaknesses foist upon the weaknesses that we all have as entrepreneurs in our early stage businesses. So what we're trying to always do is to say, okay, how do you turn that into a strength? Well, if acknowledging that you're not good at something is something that actually should be welcome, but for the Black community will not happen because of all the trust issues and the years and years and years of having a good reason not to trust. You come to the table and say, listen, I'm Black. I've had to work harder, right? I've had to deal with more, right? And because of that, when I come to the table to you and I say, this is what we're good at, you should trust it. And when I say, this is what we're not good at, you should trust it and know that I have a plan, because I don't get to go to any institution without not just my act together, but the whole thing being beyond, because I have another standard that's set for me. And I think that when you train around talking to an investor, we would never suggest going in and just letting their previous views dictate. You should go to them and say,
that's right.
I work harder because I have to. I am more resilient because I have to. And when I stand in front of you and say, this is what it is, and this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do, that's not a sales pitch. That's because we operate by a different set of rules.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as they say, you can take that to the bank.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But that's the case.
Yeah. It's almost like when we talk about the resilience of an entrepreneur, there's obviously many, many resilient entrepreneurs. Our story of 2008 and what happened to us. But also, Joy, as we've talked about before, I went to Bucknell and Northwestern Law School. I had it pretty easy, right? I mean, my company almost collapsed and all that, but I, never worried about food on the table. I never worried that I didn't go to a good high school or good, right? So it's different. The level of resilience, rather, that it takes to be in many Black communities to get to the point is far beyond what some dude who went to Bucknell and Northwestern had to do. Like, and so that should not be viewed as a weakness. It should be viewed as a strength. You're
Right.
like,
That's
you
right.
think you want to hear hard, right?
Right.
I'll define for
I
you
mean,
hard.
I think the thing that really encourages me when I talk to other Black entrepreneurs is we have this common thread of, I will make this work.
Yeah.
I will go down fighting. I mean, you talk about resilience. I'll take the hit. I
Yep.
get it. I've taken hits before.
Yep.
I'm going to keep going.
Yep.
You know, there's this, there's a core strength and a core set of values that says we don't just give up. You know, take the hit, keep going. Take the change, keep going. You know, switch it up, be creative, shift, you know, adapt. You know, I say adapt and overcome. That's kind of a mantra that we live by in all things. You know, if you have it this way on Monday, great. If it's a different way on Thursday, that's still fine.
Yep.
You just adjust and you keep going. Because if you believe, right? If you believe, and there's that core that says, nope, this is going to work. This is something I'm going to do. This is something that I must do. I feel connected to, you know, because most Black people start businesses of a passion point, right?
Yep. Yep.
The passion, whether it came from a pain point or a pleasure point, they're passionate about it. And so they're connected to the business. It's like their lifeblood. It's something they feel called to do. It's not just, oh, I think I'll, you know, start a candy store. It's, I love the children. I want to serve my community. I want to be a center of my community. There's this whole process emotionally that connects to the established business. And I think that part is where our resilience as a culture, you know, I'm talking about across the diaspora, as our resilience comes into play, that says, I'm not going to let this go at all easily. And I'll just keep knocking on door after door after door until it happens.
No doubt. We could talk about this all day. It's so insightful. And I hope at the end of the day, we're helping, you know, the Black community turn weaknesses into strength and turn things that are foisted upon them into strength. So thank you so much for your time as always. And this is incredibly valuable material for the folks in the Black Entrepreneur Initiative. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.